There's a certain kind of softness. Some people carry a softness that feels warm, safe, almost luminous. The kind that makes others feel understood without needing to say a word. These are the quiet ones, the steady ones, the endlessly patient ones, the ones who forgive too fast, help too soon, and hold everyone together even when their own hands are shaking. But here's the part no one ever warns them about. That softness has a shadow, a hidden cost, a psychology most people never see until it's already shaped their entire life. And if you've ever been the nice one, or if someone like that has been the anchor in yours, what you're about to hear might feel uncomfortably familiar. Before we go deeper, just one thing. If these words already hit a nerve, if you feel seen in a way you didn't expect, subscribe. You're going to want to hear the rest. Now, let's begin. There's a hidden story behind people who are described as nice. Not the surface level story, not the compliments, not the praise, but the real story. The one carved silently into them long before they understood what was happening. On the outside, they look calm, balanced, pleasant. On the inside, there is a storm held behind a locked door. Because niceness, true, chronic, excessive niceness, is never random. It is shaped, formed, conditioned. It begins in childhood. A child learns quickly what is rewarded and what is punished. And some children discover that being quiet earns safety. Being agreeable earns affection. Being good keeps the peace. They learn that their needs are less important than the comfort of the people around them. They learn to read the room faster than they learn to read books. They track moods, tone shifts, facial expressions, not because they want to, but because they have to. That is how niceness becomes survival. From that moment, they stop being themselves. They start being whatever keeps the world calm. And the body remembers this lesson. The nervous system absorbs it. The identity forms around it like a shell. So the child grows into the teenager who never complains. The teenager grows into the adult who never says no. The adult becomes the friend with the steady smile, the partner who forgives too easily, the co-worker everyone relies on because that's who they've been trained to be. But here's the truth no one ever taught them. Kindness that comes from fear is not kindness. It is self-protection. It is masking. It is the quietest form of self-abandonment, and the person living it rarely realizes what's happening. They believe they are being good, being helpful, being loving, but beneath that, softness is a lifetime of unmet needs, emotions that were never allowed to exist, boundaries that were never allowed to form, truths that were never allowed to be spoken. These people don't know how to rest. Not really. Because even in silence, their minds scan for danger. They track other people's feelings the way some people track the weather constantly, involuntarily, obsessively. They anticipate every emotion except their own. You can see it in small moments, in how quickly they apologize, even when nothing is their fault, in how they say it's okay before processing what hurt them, in how they soften their voice to avoid sounding demanding, in how they go silent when they are overwhelmed, not because they have nothing to say, but because they've learned that expressing discomfort creates more trouble than hiding it. This is not personality, this is conditioning, and conditioning always has a cost. Because the nice one becomes the emotional sponge in every environment. They take on sadness that isn't theirs. They absorb anger that shouldn't be theirs. They carry guilt that never belonged to them in the first place. But there's something more painful, something most people never notice. People stop asking what they want because they assume they'll adjust. People stop checking on them because they always say they're fine. People stop offering support because they never ask for any. The world starts to look at them as a service, not a soul. And this invisibility grows heavy, it grows bitter, it grows dark, because niceness that is not reciprocated slowly corrodes a person from the inside. They smile while resenting, they agree while aching, they help while hoping desperately that someone, one day, will finally notice they are tired. But most people don't. Not because they don't care, but because the nice one has trained them not to. And this is where the shadow forms the part of the psyche nobody talks about. When niceness becomes chronic, when it becomes survival, when it becomes the only way a person knows how to exist, it creates the perfect breeding ground for emotional fatigue, resentment, anger, and even loneliness. A loneliness so profound it doesn't feel like emptiness, it feels like erasure. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of being unseen while standing in a room full of people you've spent your entire life caring for. And eventually, something inside them breaks. It doesn't look dramatic at first. It looks like subtle withdrawal. A smile that lasts too long. A yes that sounds like a whisper. A sudden disinterest in conversations they once tolerated. An exhaustion that sits in their eyes even when their voice is soft. This is the body saying, I can't keep pretending. But for someone who was raised to equate their worth with their usefulness, stopping feels dangerous. They fear they will lose people if they show their truth. They fear the world will turn cold if they stop being warm. They fear that honest boundaries will push people away, and some will. But here's the painful, liberating truth. The people who leave when you stop abandoning yourself were only there because you abandoned yourself. And when the nice one starts reclaiming their voice, the world reacts. Some people respect it, others resist it. Some back away, others lash out. Some say, you've changed. What they mean is, you stopped giving me unlimited access to you. But through all the confusion and fear, something extraordinary begins to grow. A voice, a sense of self, a new understanding of what kindness actually is. Real kindness is not swallowing your needs. Real kindness is not erasing yourself. Real kindness is not silence. Real kindness is not compliance. Real kindness is built on truth, on boundaries, on mutual respect, on choosing compassion, not performing it, on caring for others without dying in the process. And for the first time in their life, the nice one realizes they are allowed to exist without justifying it. They are allowed to say no without guilt. They are allowed to rest without apology. They are allowed to feel anger without labeling themselves as bad. They are allowed to want things. They are allowed to be seen. They begin to understand that choosing themselves is not selfish, it is essential. Because every time they abandoned their own needs to keep others comfortable, they taught the world that their feelings were worthless. But they're not. They never were. They were simply hidden behind a lifetime of being good. And as they slowly, painfully, bravely reclaim the parts of themselves they buried to survive, their kindness changes. It becomes cleaner, brighter, stronger, no longer drained from them, but flowing through them from abundance rather than emptiness. It becomes the kind of kindness that doesn't suffocate the giver, the kind that doesn't train people to take without giving, the kind that doesn't collapse under pressure, the kind that doesn't hide behind a smile, the kind that doesn't disappear, the kind of kindness that can finally include themselves. And that is the real transformation. Not becoming harder, not becoming colder, but becoming whole, becoming honest, becoming grounded, becoming someone who can love without losing themselves, someone who can give without bleeding, someone who can show up without disappearing behind the mask the world once applauded. Because the world never needed the nice one. It needed the real one. The truth is, being the nice one shapes you in ways most people never notice. Not because you're weak, not because you can't stand up for yourself, but because somewhere along the way, you learned that softness was the safest way to survive, to be accepted, to be loved. You became the peacekeeper, even when there was no peace left in you. You became the healer, even when no one healed you. You became the reliable one, even when your own world was quietly falling apart. And the world praised you for it. They loved your patience, your empathy, your understanding, not realizing that every compliment was also a quiet subtraction from your soul. But here's the part no one tells you. Every nice one has a breaking point. A moment when the smile stops hiding the exhaustion. A moment when the heart that gave too much finally whispers, no more. A moment when they realize that kindness without boundaries isn't kindness, it's erosion. And if any part of this feels like your story, then you need to know something important. This isn't the end of the explanation. It's the beginning, because the psychology behind this, why you became this way, why it's so hard to stop, and what happens when you finally do, is much darker and much more revealing than most people will ever understand. There's a whole side of this pattern we haven't talked about yet, a side that might change how you see yourself forever. And if this resonated, stay close, there are more surprising truths on the way.